Hello, so what I've got in front of me today is a remix I recently made in the style of UK bounce. I'm going to be taking you through this. This is 150 beats per minute, so it's on the faster end of the sort of bounce scale. We've got the melodies, big melodies in there, the bouncy bass line, and then towards the end we've got one of those heavy drops. So I'll talk you through it all. First of all, we'll have a quick run through of the track and see what you guys think. Okay, so let's start with the actual vocal of the track. The original is Ja Rule and Ashanti, Always on Time. So I've done a couple of things to this. First of all, you probably can tell that I've actually slowed it down. The original vocal, I think it's at 97 beats per minute. Now, if I was to speed that up from 97 to 150, it would sound very, very fast. So what I've actually done is I've slowed it down. So I basically double timed it. Now, the original a cappella sounds like this. Let's take, there we go. So
always there when you call, but I'm always on time.
Now there is some processing on this as well. We'll take a look at that in a minute. But what I've done is I've used this Stretch Pro mode, and I've brought the formant down here. Look, down to minus 400 cents, which is basically bringing it down 4 semitones. Now what this is doing, it's keeping it at the same pitch as the original, as the track, but it's bringing it down. It's making it sound deeper, which I've noticed a lot of tracks that are coming out EDM style at the moment have been doing that. The one with Do It, that track called Do It, they've done the exact same thing. So when you bring it down, this is what it sounds like.
Always there when you call, but I'm always on time, and I gave.
So basically, we're bringing the pitch down, but keeping it at the same key as the original vocal. Now, what we've got on this is going to bus 2. So we have quite a few things on this. We have the what we'll do is actually we'll just turn them all off and we'll bring them on one at a time so you can hear what's happening.
Always there when you call, but I'm always on time. And I gave you my all. Now, baby, be mine. I'm not always there when you call, but I'm always on time. And I gave you my all. Now, baby, be always there when you call.
So most of them speak for itself. This one here, what we've done here is we've used the mid-side split. So here we're only boosting the high end on the side of the vocal so that it makes it sound a little bit wider and brighter on the sides. So that's the vocal.
Always there.
Now the chords of the track I've actually taken from a remix I've done recently for a K-pop track by Blackpink. I can't remember the name of it, but I actually love the chords that we used in it. So the chords come in two parts. We've got part A, and then there is also a part B. So part A are the chords. So these are just four. Oh, so there's four, then I've repeated them. So this is part A. And then for part B, what they've done is they've just swapped the first two chords around, so you get this. So if we were to maybe play them alongside each other. Yeah, so I just like that little change. Now this is a Nexus piano going to 13, and all we've done with there is just cut a bit of low ends off, boosted a bit of the highs. This piano preset is then the Bellow one, and what I've actually done with this, I've turned the reverb right down, I've changed the delay to ping pong, brought that down, and I've gone into the layers and I've turned all these layers off and just left this one on. This layer, because this is built up of 4 layers. I only want this one, so the others I've just turned off. And then we drop into this piano riff. And this consists of 2 parts. So the first one is this Nexus piano, and this is the Rave Piano 3, and this goes to track 11, where we have cut the low ends off, boosted the highs, but what we've also done, we've actually created a piano bus. So both of these pianos, this piano and this piano, both get routed from their individual tracks to a piano bus, where we can add some filtering and some sidechain on there. Now to create a bus like this, all we do is just go over here, pick a track, right click, go down to dock to right, and that will now dock that into the right. And let's say we wanted this track and this track to both play through, go to this. So we'll just click that track, right click, route only through this track, click that track, route only through this track. Now what that actually does is this track gets routed to there and this track gets routed to there. So they don't go from their individual tracks, individual channels to the master. They'll go here first. So if I was to play both of these alongside each other, and then I was to mute this channel, it mutes them both because they're not actually going straight out. They're going to this track, both of them together to this track. So that's that one. And then the second one is the M1, piano 1 low. Now what I've done with this as well, if I go into the actual key here, what we've done, we've actually moved them forward very slightly. So I've copied the riff, but then I've moved every single note forward very slightly because of the fact there's a bit of latency with the M1. They sort of phase, flange off each other when you play them together. So I've moved them forward to be in time with this one. This one has a few more effects on it, so I'll just turn these off. EQ. And then we're using the CLA guitar plugin. And what we've got on this, we've got a bit of bite, so a bit of high end. We've got a bit of compression. We've got a little bit of delay. And we've got this stereo wider tool that makes it sound a little bit wider. Again, them two are being routed to here. And on here, we'll just have a kickstart, which is going to be the sidechain. It's currently turned off. And that is controlled by this here. So as you can see here, when it's down, it's off. Because I want it to play in full. And then when we go into, when the beats kick in, I want it to duck. I want the piano to duck under the beats. So it gives it that sort of bouncy feel when everything else kicks in. So that's the piano. Towards the end of when we come to this breakdown here, we'll take a look. But I've got a high pass filter on, so it's sort of filtering out. So next up, what we have is this sort of oboe playing riff. Where are we? Again, the M1, and this preset here, which is in Odwin, and it's here, number 27 there. I'll just play this for you. I know we've got here is the doubler from Waves. Without it, it sounds very sort of in the middle. And with it in, it sounds a bit wider. So this is what it sounds like with the piano. Next up we have the pad. So this pad comes in on full straight away. While this sort of ad-lib vocal sort of playing, and then we bring the cut off right down really low when the actual vocal kicks in.
Baby, baby.
Now this pad is a preset in Spire. So mine's a favourite, so it's in Spire if you just find it. And then what I've done to it is I've just took off oscillator 4 because it has this sort of, I don't know, sandy sort of movement to it. So I've just took that off. And then what we've done then is we have cut all the low end of it out, boosted the high slightly, and we've had an OTT as well just to bring it all together. Not much going on there. Then the next riff, we have this sort of voice riff. And this is from Nexus. And it's from, I can't remember where it's from, which pack it's in. Anyway, it's in a pack, it's called Golden Hair. Golden Choir. It's the sort of golden hair sound from Floor Fillers. And what we've done with that, we've just cut the low end off that as well, completely off that. You would probably notice a lot of the tracks, apart from the bass and kick, I would tend to cut the low end off nearly everything, just so that it doesn't clash with the bass and the kick. We've also boosted up higher, so if we take the EQ off, and then what have we got next? So underneath the pad and the piano, because we've took all the bass and stuff out, there's no bass there. So we've just created this drone sound. And this I've just made in Serum. Again, there's no external or extra effects on this. All I've done is I've just got an init preset, brought it down 1 octave, 5 unison. We put the drive up a bit, we put the fat knob up a bit, we brought the cut off down. That's basically all we've done. Now down here we've turned mono on and legato on, and we've turned the portamento on so that when it's going towards the end of a note, it pulls up to the next note. So if you listen to it. You can hear it pulling up to the next note, which I just think gives it a little bit of extra character. We'll discuss the effects last. We'll go through all that last. So that's all the drop, all the breakdown. Then when we kick into the piano riff, this piano riff, we have a break beat underneath it, which is just a simple break beat loop that we've got filtering up. Just from Nexus. Then towards the end of it, I just got it filtering back down again. Now, when the piano kicks in, we change the drone to sort of what I call a seesaw bass. And again, this is very simply made, so I'll just show you quickly how to make this. Mute that. So we'll just quickly init preset this. So what I'm going to do is turn the filter on, click envelope 2, bring it to the cutoff. And then we're going to hold Alt and Shift and click it. So it changes where the cutoff point is here, see this? And we'll bring that down a bit. And then envelope 2, we just bring the sustain right down. And you get that? And then when we fill that up, we get that. So that's how you make that. And then just before it kicks into the vocals, we leave the piano playing, we cut out the oboe, we cut out the bass, we cut out the breakbeat, everything. We just have this fill. And then it drops into the first drop. So first drop, we have the pianos obviously playing, sidechain, oboe plays, we bring the art back in, the kick. Nothing, no processing whatsoever on this kick. When looking for kicks, I tend to find that the more natural the kick is, the better it sounds. If you're bringing a kick in and you're having to process it, it's probably not the right kick. So look for a kick that sounds really good. And now the clap. It's from Vengeance, I think. Now, we've done a couple of things to this. What we've done is just cut the out of it off. Let's bring this back up. This is what it sounds like. We've changed, brought the length of it down a bit. The volume out, just to make it a bit snappier. And then we've EQ'd it. Without the EQ. Just want it nice and bright. Cut the low ends off for it, just nice and bright in there. And then the hi-hat. Nothing on there. Sometimes I would low cut it. Do that anyway. Low cut it. That's just from Cashmere Sound Bank. Then we have this little looping over here that kicks in. From Nexus Sounds 1. That's basically it for the drums. Now the bass consists of two bass. So we have this doink bass, which is a sample, and then we have this underbass, which is sort of the meatier part of it. So this doink bass is originally in the key of G. So what that basically means is, because it's a sample, it's been recorded in G. So if I was to hit C, what it would actually do, would actually play G, which is obviously no good because then you're having to mess around with it. So one way you can tell FL Studio to change it for you is if you click this little spanner here and you click what key it's in. So because it's in G, I click this here, click G. What that will then do, it'll tell FL Studio that this sample is in G, and FL Studio will automatically pitch it up to the correct pitch. So it's now in the correct key for what I'm using in the track. Now what we've done with this is, so I've cut the low end off that because I don't want the low end in the doink, and I've also boosted the highs quite a bit so it stands out a bit more. And then what we've done is we've then routed that doink to the main bass line. So we've got this bass line and the other bass line routed together, and we have a compressor on them, so it just glues them together. So you're getting the meaty sort of saw the tune bass line underneath, but you're still getting the doink on top. And because of obviously I've made it a bit brighter, it stands out a bit more, so you can still hear the doink going along there. And that brings us to the first lead. Now this consists of 2 layers. This goes to track 19, and on there we've got an EQ, cuts off a low end, boosts the high with an OTT, and this sound goodizer, just doing a little tiny bit. So we've got 2 layers. The first layer is this 2-coloured from the Slap House sound bank in Nexus, which is the second layer is also from Nexus, EDM6, called Party Time. And together. Again, we just cut a bit of the vocal up again, just to get the vocal going. So we'll quickly go through the FX as well before we go into the sort of big drop. So the FX, what we've got here, we've got some sweeps down. And then the same sweep, we'll just reverse, so it's sweeping up. We have like a kick effects boom. We have this reverse cymbal with delay on it. We have a crash with delay on it. We have this impact sweep. Over here we have this sort of goes up and then comes back down again. We also have this little fill and a snare. And we have this clap. All the effects here I've all made myself, and it is available in my Scouse House sound pack. And the clap here is just taken from a Keshmar sound bank. I think it's Sound Bank 1 or Sound Pack 1. So we'll pop all that together. Then what's happening now is we're going to go into the sort of heavier drop, which will tend to be the bass line sort of stays on one note, and then you have some sort of EDM style riffs. It reminds me a little bit of the Big Room stuff and Melbourne Bounce, obviously not at 128, it's up at 150. So it's very similar in how it sounds and the sort of melodies used. So we have this build up to it. This is the build up. We start of all with the vocal. We have the vocal repeating. We have the piano repeating as well. And then obviously that filters out, filters up. Then we have the actual drop lead, which is this. And we have that filtering up, as you can see here, that filters up. And when it kicks in, it does have sidechain, but obviously when it's building up, we don't want that sidechain playing, so we just automate the sidechain so it's off. And obviously when it kicks in, we want that sidechain to make the track real pumping. And then the bass is just the exact same bass line, but just one note of it. So we have the vocal repeating, we have the piano filtering out, we have the riff filtering up, and we've kept this loop going as well. So as you can tell, that it doesn't sound like much without the effects and stuff in. So the effects, we've got the sweeps, all the stuff we spoke about there, they're all added in. I've also added this second snare fill. And then I've also added some tonal risers from the Vengeance EDM Pack 2. So I found what, so obviously we know this is in G sharp. So we found some in, this one's in G sharp, and this one's in G, but we just pitched it up to G sharp. So this is what these sound like. And we've cut it off here because we want this to be completely empty just before, so the build up comes up, and then just before it kicks in, we drop everything out and just have the fill sort of playing, and then the second tonal riser. So if we just stick all the effects on together, you can see the effects make a massive difference. And we also have one more thing, which is this kick. This is just a kick from Vengeance, which we've reversed. So we've hit reverse, and then we've just cut the very end of it off, because this is sort of the click. You don't want that. You don't want that clicking. So just take it off. It sounds like this. And then it's straight into the rest of the drop. So if you add it all back in. Now when it comes to the drop, when it kicks back in, we've done a couple of things. We've added a couple of accents in there so that it just sounds a little bit different. So on after the 4 bars, we've dropped everything out and just added this sort of snare hitting. And then on the second 8th bar, what we've done is we've copied the melody, but we've just changed the synth. So instead of it being this synth, it's this. So you get this sound. What we've also done, added this Kashmir war horn in as well. It was in G, so we've obviously picked it up to G sharp. And then we've brought this tonal riser back in, but you'll notice it looks a bit different. So obviously we've cloned it, and then we've just gone into the volume in and just turned it down, because we don't want it kicking in real loud. We want it gradually sort of filtering up, because we want a bit here, the second part of the drop. So the second part of the drop, then we've just added some of the drums back in. Oh, actually missed the clap out, but we'll add that back in now. And in here, again, we've dropped the sidechain out because we want this to play by itself. So the sidechain's dropped out and it's just playing fully without being sidechained. And then towards the end, we've just filtered it out. And then that would bring it up to about 3 minutes, which is perfect for sort of a radio edit. So that would be perfect for a sort of radio. Anything between maybe 2:15 and 3.5 would be considered decent for a sort of radio edit. What we've then got, if we go to our playlists and we change it, we can change it, our arrangements to extended mix. You'll see I have the extended mix done here as well. So the extended mix is just the first 16 bars of beats. We then copy the same 16 bars over, but introduce the bass line. Now in this particular mix, what I've actually done, because the pads kick in right at the start of the actual track, full. So what I've done here, I've started to filter the pads up in the extended mix, so it's not just kicking in as a big surprise. And the same for the outro, exactly the same thing. Once the track's finished, we're going to go into 16 bars of beats and the bass line. And then we're going to drop that down to just the bass line for the next 16 bars. And that's it. That's the full extended mix. So this genre reminds me a little bit of EDM and Melbourne bounce. So if you're looking to try and look at structure of tracks and sounds and melody ideas and you know the way tracks are built, I would go and look at those tracks. So your Melbourne bounce, your sort of EDM big room stuff, look at how them tracks are laid out, look at what sound stuff they use, and then just do it at 150 beats per minute. Add a doink in and you know you've got yourself a track. Yep. So that's about it. I hope you've picked some up off this video. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comment section below. If you want to see me make anything else, any other genres, or even another one like this again, let me know as well in the comments below. But that's it, guys. That's the video over. Thanks for watching.